Welcome to the Veterans in Politics Talk Show. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook. Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Michael Murphy. He's a former Clark County coroner and a candidate for Clark County Public Administrator. But before we get to Mr. Murphy, we have Ms. Phillips. But before we get to Ms. Phillips, I just want to say this is our brand new studio. So we're going to be here for a good year. Hope you guys like it, Ms. Phillips.
Even though it looks almost identical. It's great. It's just bigger. It's just bigger around here. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. And thank you to our sponsors. We have Dr. Ari Nagy. He's running for Congressional District 3. His website is nagyforcongress.com, and that's FOR, nagyforcongress.com. He had a great event last night. That was a good job. And Dr. Nagy, we're wearing your t-shirts
Dr. Nagy.
And your hats. Thank you so much.
The next congressman.
Congratulations on your endorsement that you just received on Saturday for your district. That was great. Also, we have Henderson's mayor, Michelle Romero. She's running for re-election. Her website is votemichelleromero.com, votemichelleromero.com. We also have Cody K. Whipple, and he is running for Congressional District 4. His website is codykforcongress.com, and that's the number 4, codykforcongress.com. And congratulations, Cody. He also was endorsed on Saturday by both of our organizations.
Might as well you name the other one that was endorsed, too.
Nan Roker, Assembly, what's the number? 37? I shouldn't say. Nan, I forgot the number. Anyway, congratulations on your endorsement as well, Nan Roker. Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
The Assembly? Okay, we'll announce it in a minute. We also have Dave Marlin. He's running for Las Vegas City Council, Ward 6. His website is daveforvegas.com, and that's FOR, daveforvegas.com. We also have Judge Jennifer Schwartz. She is running for re-election for District Court, Department 17. Her website is judgeschwartz.com, judgeschwartz.com. And we also have Tim Ross at VGTHOG. And that is the Hangars Association. And they have hangars up at the airports, North Las Vegas and down in Henderson. If you want to know more, jump on their website, hog.org. Also, don't forget to grab your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. You can get a copy on Amazon. It is $14.99. And if you are a litigant without an attorney and you can't afford one, grab this book. It's a self-help book. It will help you navigate that system. Also, we have a merch store. It's vipimerch.com, vipimerch.com. It's all kinds of fun things for you to check out there. And also, we have more endorsement interviews coming up this Saturday, starting at 8 a.m. and we're going to 7, I think, 7 p.m. It's going to be a really long day. Please be on time. We appreciate it. You're going to do the rant, actually. So we'll give it to Steve for the rant.
Well, I just want to name all the endorsed candidates that we had last week. The first one, there was no endorsement in Congressional District Number 1. Dr. Ari Nagy, Congressional District Number 3, congratulations. Cody K. Whipple, Congressional District Number 4, congratulations. Nancy Nan Roker, is that right? Mm-hmm. Assemblywoman for District 12.
Oh, 12. All right, there it is.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
There was no endorsement in Assembly District 13, no endorsement in Assembly District 15, and no endorsement in Assembly District 16 for various reasons I don't want to get into. But one thing I'm going to say is this, is that we've been doing these endorsements since 2005 under the Veterans in Politics International umbrella. And what I've noticed is that the judicial candidates are very prompt. They're on time. They don't have a sense of entitlement. They're very educated. They know what they're running for. They know their job. They read the emails. They read it. Now, I'm going to go to the assembly candidates. And I'm not saying all assembly candidates, so don't get me wrong. I'm saying majority of the assembly candidates don't read the emails, have a sense of entitlement, show up late, don't even know the job that they're running for. And what's ironic to me is that assembly people make laws so the judges could enforce them. So you have the lack of intelligence making laws for the smart people to enforce. And for the life of me, I can't figure it out. We need more quality people running for assembly that's going to make laws for judges to enforce, which is the smarter bunch of everybody else that's running, because they got to get their college degree or their bachelor's degree, then they got to go to law school. They have all these different educational criteria that they have to meet. And assembly candidates have no educational criteria they have to meet. They just say, it's a stepping stone to get into politics. I'll run for assembly. And I think that's so sad, because those are the folks that are making laws for us. So pay attention to when you endorse these assembly candidates. Make sure they know what they're doing, because a lot of them don't. And like I said, I'm not saying all assembly candidates, but the majority are terrible. Okay? So let's pay attention to those people. Thank you for your time. Now let's go to Mr. Murphy. How you doing, Mr. Murphy?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for coming.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Could you give us a bio, please?
Sure. I'll try to keep it brief, but it's at my age, it's a little long. So
don't leave anything else.
Yeah, well, hey.
You have quite the background.
Well, thank you. So I started right out of high school. As soon as I graduated from high school, I was one of those unique people that graduated at 17, turned 18 in November, and by that following February, I was on the police department in Kansas City, Kansas. That's where I was born and raised.
Okay.
And so I spent 8 years there. That particular program that I was involved in is a program designed to get people involved in law enforcement very young, so that they're ready to go by the time they're 21. You get to work in every phase of the organization. Finally decided that I wanted to make a change because of weather and some other issues. And I said, you know what? I looked at Nevada and I said, I'm going to make the move. So I went out to Boulder City, Nevada. I was a police officer for them for 10 years, became their deputy chief, was their first juvenile officer. During that time, I went to the FBI National Academy.
What does that mean, juvenile officer?
So I was responsible I was their first juvenile officer. And at that time, the way the chief had designed it, and I should I want to tell you that the chief at that time was Robert Lowry.
Okay.
And he was a Marine.
No, he was a Marine.
I mean, he is a Marine. Well, he's deceased now.
Still a Marine.
Okay. Well, I want you to know he's a Marine. Okay. And he was the one that told me things like of a lot of the issues that I learned about the Marine Corps, and was very strict about how we ran our uniform division. And I learned a huge amount from him. And he brought me in and he said, I'm going to make you a juvenile officer. And I said, well, really, what does that mean? And he said, I want you to be responsible for anything that involves anyone under the age of 18, whether they're suspect or victim.
Yeah.
And you're going to handle all that.
Does that include truancy?
That does. And so I worked with, but I worked with the juvenile officers that were, that would come out from Las Vegas, that were part of the county system. And so, I was in all three of the schools. At that time, there was a junior high, or a grade school, a junior high, and high school. And so I worked in all three of the schools, working with the youth, handled a lot of cases that involved kids that were both victims and unfortunately had committed crimes. And so they were, misdemeanor crimes. Sometimes they talk about them being miscreants, that kind of thing. Worked with the juvenile courts. Back then, you could get a kid into military if they had a little bit of problem, and it was a great way to get them back on track. So anyways, I did that. Went to the FBI National Academy while I was there, and then I took the job to be the police chief in Mesquite, Nevada, which is still in Clark County, right? Second or third largest county in the United States, by the way, geographically. Was there for another 10 years. And then I got recruited to come to City of Las Vegas Detention and Enforcement. Was there for 3 years. The plan was I was going to be the next chief. The chief decided he was going to stay a little longer, and I'm a firm believer in you dance with who brung you. It was his house. He could stay as long as he wanted. And when he said he was going to stay, I went, no problem. I'll be right here with you. And then the opportunity came available to apply for the coroner's position. The coroner in Las Vegas, Clark County, is appointed. It's not elected. You go before a committee of people. You have to go through the whole, interview process and everything. Tom Riley was the individual that was the county manager at that time that selected me. Catherine Cortez Masto was the person that ran the selection process. She was the assistant county manager at that time. So I got an opportunity to work with her, a great individual. So I get appointed. I beat out about 65 different people that applied for that job. The vast majority of those were medical doctors. I want to be very clear. I am not a medical doctor. To be the coroner in Clark County at that time, you had to have one of two things. You had to be a medical doctor. I wasn't. Or you had to have law enforcement experience. Dr. Ravenholt was the one that created that system. He was also for 40 years, was the health official here in Clark County and ran the coroner's office until he handed that over to Ron Flood. Ron was a former North Las Vegas police officer and was a state investigator for a number of years. And Ron and I knew each other. We're still to this day good friends. I took that office over in 2002 and stayed there through 2015. At that point in Nevada, the way the system is set up is that once you put in a number of years, your retirement kind of caps. No matter how many more years you put in, your retirement stays the same. I got an opportunity and was asked to go to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. My family stayed in Las Vegas. I commuted back and forth about once a month or every couple of weeks. And so I was director of long-term missing children and the Forensic Services Division. And I also handled Amber Alerts. If anybody put out an Amber Alert between 2015 and 2017, 2018, I was involved in that. What we did at the National Center was do what they call secondary push. So law enforcement pushes an Amber Alert out. By the way, the success rate of that particular program is about 99%. It's one of the highest. Yeah. We try to make sure we never have what we call Amber Alert fatigue. So there has to be certain criteria. You have to know who the child is that's missing. You have to have a suspect. You have to have a vehicle. And then they put those out on the dynamic boards. If you remember, you've probably seen those. And so I was involved in that. And then what we would do with that is then push that out to UPS drivers, gas stations, service stations, things of that nature. One of them is where they sell lotto tickets. Those stations would get that information, so they would look for that Amber Alert. And so anyways, I was involved in that, got the work done that I needed to there, and came back to Las Vegas to continue to work my private company, which is a consulting company, Empower USA, where I run around. Prior to COVID, ran around the world teaching. Now I go around the United States teaching law enforcement about death investigations for both adult and child death investigations. And then I do a variety of other things, including leadership courses for police management. So I continue to do that. I got called by the county and they asked me if I could come back and run the coroner's office when the coroner left with about 2 weeks notice. And the county was offering buyouts. I don't blame John. It was John Feudenberg. John's a great guy, did a good job, but he decided to depart. And so the county called and said, can you come back and run the organization as a consultant for about 3 months? Took about a year, by the way, before we got the new coroner, which is Melanie Rouse. She's now been in place about 3 years.
As a consultant, so you got consult pay and you got your retirement pay?
That's correct. I got both. Okay. Yep, because I was working as a consultant, not back in the system, so to speak. And so, but I should tell you, I'd like to talk about a couple of things, some milestones that we did when I was at the coroner's office. Sure. We were the first in the nation to put dead people's pictures on the internet, trying to identify decedents that had never been identified before. When I did that, it was not what I call cutting edge, but bleeding edge. Nobody had ever done that. And I thought I was going to lose my job, to be honest with you. It was not viewed well by the public. And I believe in doing things different. Don't always do the same thing over and over again because you'll get the same result.
Think outside the box.
Yeah, exactly.
What were your stats on people?
Well, we had 167 unidentified persons in the office. And so that first week when we rolled that out, the media lost their minds and said I should be fired and everything. And I would tell you, I went home that night and thought, I almost. I was still smoking back then, and I hotboxed a cigarette like there was no tomorrow. Yeah, just regular cigarettes. Yeah. So anyways, and quit a lot of years ago. Point of that was, my wife said to me, you just need to stay the course.
Mhm.
And I did. And within our first 24 hours, we identified our first one. 48 hours,
Great.
we identified our second. 72 hours, we identified our third, and we were off and running.
Mhm.
The federal government saw that, and that's now become a national program called NamUs.gov. And that's an unidentified and missing persons webpage for adults. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has one for kids. And so they talk to each other. And I'm very proud to say that I was a part of that process.
Do they
John
post?
Walsh?
Yeah, several times. Yes, I worked with Mr. Walsh numerous times. And I did a lot of on-air stuff for the National Center with children that, we had missing. So we were identifying folks, still do that today.
Mhm.
I'm still very passionate about that. I teach that now to law enforcement, how to do these identifications and the different things you do forensically and, what you can do. So anyways, I was at the coroner's office. One of the things that happened while I was at the coroner's office is if a department had a problem,
Mhm.
the county started using me as an interim director. And so I ran juvenile justice services for about a year. I worked with Clark County Park Police. I was a lobbyist for 2 sessions up in Carson City. So I did that for a couple of years. And so all that came forward and I did all these different things. Now I'm back teaching on the road.
Okay.
And I'm down in Texas and I get a phone call from the county. And they said, have you looked at the newspapers? And I said, yeah, I saw the article, and it was an article about Rob Tellis, who was the public administrator at that time, and he had been accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a staffer.
Mhm.
And there was a link on the front of the RJ. You could click on it. You could see them getting out of the backseat of a car in a parking lot down it. Yeah, everybody kind of saw it. So I said,
Business is all out there.
yeah, I mean, the business was out. So they said, can you come and help take over the organization? Kind of like you did when at the coroner's office. Have your consulting company do that. And I said, I don't know that will work because he's an elected official and I don't think he's going to stop or just let me take over. And they said, he's agreed to allow you to come in and help. So I said, well, when do you want me to start? And they said, tomorrow. And I said, well, I got to fly back. I got to teach tomorrow. I'll fly back the next day and then we'll do it. So I assisted him with that organization. It was in May. The primary election was in June. Rita Reed, who is now the public administrator, who was his number 2, ran against him. There was a lot of reasons why they did that. The office was absolutely fractured as a result of having an internal, person running and that kind of thing. And then everything that was in the news. So my job was to put a hand on it, kind of calm it, get people back to doing their jobs, saying, let's get rid of the politics part of it. Let's just take care of the citizens and work the job that we need to work. We did that through the summer, in late August. And of course, Rob did lose the primary. So he was not going to be the public administrator after January. Rita won the primary, but we didn't know who was going to win the general election. So the plan was I was going to stay through the general election. Labor Day weekend, it was announced on Friday that Jeff German had been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
My wife took one look at that and said, I know exactly who did that, and accused, said, I think that was done by Rob Tellis. My response to that was, I teach this kind of thing for a living. I think we should let the evidence carry us to a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me and said, you do what you want. That's your job, but I can tell you what my gut tells me. And I said, okay. So bottom line is, he was ultimately arrested. We went through the weekend not knowing what was going on. On Tuesday, he did come to the office. I tried to talk with him. He didn't want to have any conversations with me. And Tuesday afternoon, the picture came out about the car that was used in the murder, believed to have been used in the murder. That did match a vehicle that him and his wife had. And
he used his own car.
Well, there's a lot of things if you look at it. Now, I want to be very clear. He has been convicted. But I also want to be very clear that he is still professing his innocence. And so, without getting into all those details, there was a trial. He was convicted. I think it was a travesty to have Jeff German murdered, of course. Jeff wrote 2 books about the mob, during his time here.
And
in the 30
survived.
years. And I was going to say, and survived. And then this incident happened and he gets murdered.
It's just like a Marine in combat.
Well, yeah.
You go to combat, you survive, and you come back to the streets of America and you end up dead.
Is that not true?
That is
it's
true.
very unfortunate, or, and I don't know how far we want to get into this, or you end up on a subway protecting some people, and you get arrested for killing someone on the subway, which that individual, by the way, was ultimately acquitted. And the doctor
had to go through all that.
Yes, and I want you to know the doctor that was instrumental in him being acquitted works for our office part time. When I say our office, works for Las Vegas, Clark County.
But that was a Marine that
correct.
Was a good Samaritan.
That's correct, and did the right thing.
Of course he did.
And so anyway, and it was proven that gentleman didn't die from being choked or suffocated or anything. He died from sickle cell trait.
Right there.
Yeah.
The mic is muted.
Says it's on.
Look at the mic.
Is that?
On there, look.
On the screen?
On the screen.
Is it
It's never happened before.
I'm getting
Facebook that is?
I'm getting
You're getting emails that saying nobody can hear us?
a text saying that the mic is muted.
Oh.
Oh, it's muted on the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So are we starting over? No.
No, we have it recorded.
Oh, okay.
So that we have the recording.
I just want you to know I'm fine.
No, it's okay.
Adversity is the challenge of life.
We always have a backup.
Is it fixed? No, it's not
it's
fixed.
still there.
You want me to go take a look at it?
Okay, here. Let me click on it. Sorry.
That has never been on.
Yeah, I'm looking right at it too.
And that's why we're in a new studio and I'm the new guy.
Yeah.
We like adversity. It's an opportunity. I saw it. I saw the button.
I saw that too. I just didn't even like.
No, I saw the button that looks like you have to push the little.
You want me to get up there and take a look?
There it is. Nope.
No.
It's not gone. It'll all be okay.
But you know what? We still have you recorded.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
We
I
still
want you to
have
know.
the whole thing. It's okay.
Clicking on it, it's not turning on.
That's crazy.
So whoever's out there listening, now that he's clicked on the button, even though it's not doing it on the screen, did it change?
You'll still get text. We still can't hear you.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's gone.
There it goes.
All right, duck.
All right. Can you hear
Oh, I
us?
love that. Okay, duck.
Put it in the comments. Can
duck.
you hear us now?
So bottom line is we're in the fall. The murders happen. They're going to go to trial. There were all those issues about that. So I stayed on helping with the office through Rita taking over in January and then departed basically late April. So I was there almost a year. She's done a wonderful job. There's a lot of work to be done. And she spent a lot of time, in my opinion, trying to catch up. And I think she would admit to that the things just got behind with everything that was going on. It was a challenge. Most people don't even know what the public administrator's office does.
Explain.
I would love to explain.
Tell everybody, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to explain this. So the public administrator is responsible for the property of decedents, folks that pass away, and they either do not have a will, they don't have a trust, or they do not have an executor to their estate.
Okay.
And as a result of that, the government, Clark County, steps in and protects their property. So you think about this, you have a neighbor that passes away. One of the things that a lot of people don't think of here in Las Vegas is that many of us who live here don't have other family that's here.
Yeah.
We've come from someplace else and we don't have extended family. So we lose that safety net that you might have when you're back home. If you were in your original hometown, you might have aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters. You're here. And so people use us we are a destination. And it's a great place to be, by the way. I love it here. But sometimes you need that safety net. And when you don't have it, somebody needs to step in. So the public administrator is responsible for protecting the property, finding the legal next of kin. If they don't want to accept the responsibility of being responsible for that estate, then taking that responsibility, inventorying that property, and liquidating it or getting it back to the original family members. And that can be a real challenge. And people think, how often can that happen? I mean, really, how often would that happen? Well, we do 20,000 deaths a year in Las Vegas. I know that part from being the coroner. And so you're going to have a couple of thousand of those cases a year that you're going to have to deal with. And so the coroner goes out. First, police are out, fire, and all of our first responders. Remember, I like to refer to it as when I was the coroner, I was the last of the first responders, right?
You're the one that seal over.
Right.
Yeah, we have to do all that. So we would get out there, and you'd say, okay, is there a will? What is it? Is there somebody to take over? So if you have a wife or significant other that can take over that property, great. But if you don't, then we have to step in. So then the coroner's office would call the public administrator's office. They would respond someone. They have to seal the property, protect that property, and then make a determination what's going to happen. Sometimes there's bio issues there because people die and nobody knows for a while. You've got the property that you have to protect, whether it's a car, whatever it is. And then think about the things that now no one's paying the rent or paying the payment on the house. Nobody's paying the association fees, and all of those things start going into the arrears. And when that happens, then people start putting liens on properties. You're all of a sudden your value of your neighborhood goes down because that property's sitting vacant. We might have squatters. In this day and age, we have people that would rent that property out, as if it's their property, and so somebody comes in illegally, and you have to watch all that. And then what if there's pets? What if there's other things that need to be taken care of? So all of those have to be addressed. All of those issues have to be addressed. You want to address them in a timely but appropriate manner. And you want to clear those cases as quickly as you can. But in many instances, it can take a couple of years. And so if I take your 2020 vehicle and put it in storage and it sits out and it sits for 2 years, it might have been worth $15,000 or $20,000. But if it sits too long, now the tires are flat, the battery's dead, the gas is bad, and you might get a couple $1,000s for it. So,
you know what that sounds like, right?
What's that?
It sounds like Crazy Horse.
Crazy Horse.
Yeah, remember it was worth $35 million.
Oh, sure. And then it took it, and then it sits vacant.
There.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, Crazy Horse. Wait a minute. You're gonna have to. You got me off on a strip club, and I'm going. Wait a minute. I need to know about what we're talking about. No, you're absolutely correct. And so you want to get all those things taken care of. I think number one, there's a better way to do things, and what I mean by that is that I think. Let me rephrase this. I don't want to say I think. I know there's a better way, and part of it is we want to get government out of people's lives. So how do you do that? One of them is you educate the public and you go out and spend time. And unfortunately, the office has never really had the time to do that because they're too busy handling the day-to-day job. So you want to go out to senior citizens communities. You want to go out to senior citizen homes, hospice, and all that, and say, when people come in and sign up, we want to give you a packet that says this is how you protect your property and your estate. And if you don't have the funds to get it done, there are services out there where they will get you your will and trust at no cost. But there's will and trust attorneys. We should be partnering with them. They should be working hard to get this paperwork done so that the government is not involved in your business. The other thing that needs to happen is if you're going to have government involved, you want trustworthy people with integrity. This is not something where you want somebody rolling in that doesn't know what's going on and and how to navigate the process. One of the things that I'm recommending is that we put body cams on all of our field investigators.
Wow.
There is always a situation, not always, occasionally in a situation where someone will say, you know what, my grandpa had a Rolex, not a Folex, right? Or a relax watch, right?
Yeah.
And when we get it into the office, it's a Folex, it's not a Rolex. And so they'll say, well, you know what? You guys swapped it out or you did something inappropriate. Why isn't all that in this day and age on body cam? And now there's more than one organization, right? There was just a case the other day. They brought $186,000 worth of cash to the office out of one estate.
Oh boy.
Now, how do you know it was $186,000? I'm not questioning those investigators. Many of them are retired police officers, and they do an excellent job. This is not about saying they're not doing a good job. This is about protecting them and being able to transfer that information to the estate and say, this is what they saw, this is what they found, this is what they did. Another thing that happens in these situations is that families will turn around and say, I can't believe that the care facility didn't do better, or that the house was in this disarray, or whatever it is. And you'll say, well, were you close with grandma or grandpa or aunt and uncle or mom and dad? Oh, yes, very, 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 very close. When's the last time you saw them and went out to the house? Because they'll say, the weeds are grown up and the toilet wasn't working, whatever it is. Yeah. And you say, when's the last time
like a
you
year.
saw them? And they'll say, honey, when was that? Was that 2022? And so, and it's no offense to people, as you get older, I'm an older American. As we get older, one of the things I've been told by a couple of folks is when you go to remember how long ago something was, add 2 to 5 years to it, because that's how quick time passes for us. So we want to protect those estates. We want to protect the individuals. Another thing that's happening now with body cam technology, it's in beta testing right now, is it'll write the report.
That's
now,
great.
You have to make sure that AI doesn't turn around and put some hallucinogenics into it, so to speak. And that's what they call it, where it puts a weird sentence in or something. Mm-hmm. So you have to prove that. But my point is, there's a better way to do it. We should be using more technology. We should be partnering with the private sector. The private sector does a great job. Government doesn't always do it better, and oftentimes doesn't do it cheaper. So why aren't we partnering with private sector folks for the board ups, for the security, for the cleanup, for all these different issues?
Bio.
Yeah, all of it. The bio, everything.
Save the county a lot of money doing it that way.
And if you partner, then you can get a synergy. You're not doing it alone. You get that synergy. And then we would have our estate coordinators oversee it, not just rolling up their sleeves all the time and taking care of it. And so there's a better way. I think the vault, in fairness to everyone, needs a full audit. I've talked with some folks that have just retired from Las Vegas Metro Vault and talking with them about the possibility of getting them in to come in and do an audit. Why wouldn't you want that? I know that Rita has gone through some audits and done very, very well. This is not about her not doing a good job, but I'm saying that there are things that can be done. She is not running, and she has told me she will endorse me.
Okay.
And so what happened was, the bottom line for this is, and we can talk a lot more about it, but what's really happened was I walked away from that back as she took over. And I still continue to go to the office about once a month and consult with her. And when she found out that I was looking to run, and I said I would not run if she ran, she said she didn't want to go again. And so I said I would. Another interesting thing, if and when I'm elected, I will be the first Republican ever elected to that office. Now, I don't believe
this is your first election, right?
This is the first time I've ever run for election. And I had no idea the amount of work you've got to put in to do this. When I've gotten the jobs before, I knew what I was doing. I applied for the job and took care of it. In this instance, I'm in fundraising mode, which, by the way, they can go to the website. But I want you to know, we're in fundraising mode. You got to raise money. Our signs are starting to go up around the valley now. We've just got those coming up in the last couple of weeks, or last couple of days.
I gotta ask you about one case.
Sure.
And I think you know the case.
All right.
When you were a coroner.
Right.
My friend.
Okay.
Buffalo Jim Barrier.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Well, Buffalo Jim Barrier died in some unique circumstances. I want to be very careful what I talk about with that, because I think it's the family's right to talk about what happened.
It was on
it's
Unsolved Mysteries.
It's been on Unsolved Mysteries. They've interviewed Dr. Telgenoff. They've interviewed others. I'm sorry, not Dr. Telgenoff. That's inappropriate. It was Dr. Sims handled that case. As a matter of fact, I just saw him the other day. And Dr. Sims did a great job. And I want you to know, I believe that our ruling in that case, in reference to the cause and manner of death of Buffalo Jim Barrier, was absolutely correct. Okay. What I think, and I've met with the girls multiple times. I know it, right, the daughters. I know at one point there was a billboard up about Dr. Sims and I saying we didn't do a very good job. And I've had a really good.
I remember that.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten a picture of it now, because I'd kind of like to have it for
I'm sure they have a picture. They
yeah,
can send it to
you know what? I hope they do. But for a number of years, one of the daughters sent me Christmas cards. We've communicated over the years. Once I pulled away from the office, I wasn't having as much. I'm going to say I think it was the youngest. You got to remember, that's a lot of years ago now. But I would tell you that I've had a good relationship with him.
Jennifer.
Is it? Yeah.
She's the eldest.
And it might have been Jennifer. I got to be real honest with you. I don't remember her name, but I would tell you that I know there was a lot of questions. One of the things that I think happened in that case that caused the family to pause and question everything about it was some of the information that was provided to them about their father's death was, for lack of a better description, was sugar-coated or candy-coated, and was done in an effort not to put his business out there, so to speak. And that caused some questions about how much people were being truthful. And it's unfortunate that happened. I think it was one of those, it was the wrong thing for the right reason. And so it didn't come out well. And then when all the information started coming out, then it was like, well, why didn't you tell us that from the very beginning? Right. Now, I know that the family is absolutely convinced, at least last time I talked with them, they were convinced that he was murdered. I do not believe that to be the case. I believe that he died as a result of some medical issues that he had and some other issues that he was involved in.
The time it was incredible when
it was about 2 weeks after
Galati, Rick Rislow.
After Rislow got out of jail,
Yeah.
And so there was always that question. There was also a question about the vehicle. I don't know that question was ever answered. I wasn't involved in that part of the investigation. That would have been Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. So I would tell you that I still to this day believe we came to a successful conclusion based on all the evidence in the case. I fully understand why the family is less than trusting of that process, and I don't blame them. And I would be more than happy to talk to them ever, and they would talk to me fairly regularly for a period of time after that. And I think we sometimes had to agree to disagree in an agreeable manner, but I didn't find them to be unagreeable, or when I say unagreeable, I never found them to be inappropriate, and I hope they found me to be the same way. I think one of the things that people don't understand is when you're dealing with grieving families, you can't really have an argument with the grieving family. You're never going to win that argument. No. Even if you're right, you're not going to win that argument because they're grieving. And everyone grieves in a different way. And so you have to let them find...
Isn't that the truth?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you have to let them find their way. And I could cite you multiple examples of that over my career, and I would have media come and say, the family has said this or the family has said that. And my response to that has always been, I'm not going to argue with the family and the press. I'm more than happy to meet with the family, but I'm not going to argue with the family and the press because there's no good will come of it. Yeah. And so I think we always have to be cognizant of that. So that's kind of my statement about Buffalo Jim. He was certainly a character and was a he was one of those Las Vegas characters, and that's what our whole town's kind of built on. And I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So we never even found out why he wants to run for a public administrator. Did we ask that? Did we even ask any questions?
No, we haven't. I mean, he's a very good storyteller.
Well, I just want you to know that.
And I'm just listening, and I'm thinking, you have everything that you need to run this office. You've already been there.
Well,
you've already kind of done the job.
And I have to tell you, so people keep saying, why would you come out of retirement and do this?
Why? Yeah.
I am a believer in, if you don't stay busy, you start dying. I want to keep working. I want to.
We're real busy.
And I believe if you have something to offer, you should give it. I'm not looking to run for multiple terms. Okay. I want to be a one-term guy.
You know, I ran for this seat twice.
For public administrator?
Yeah.
Really?
It was what's his name? Who did I go up against? Cahill.
Oh, you went up against Cahill, sure. Yeah. And I want you to know, Cahill and I worked together, and we had our moments when I was the coroner and he was the public administrator. When they did the big budget cut in 2008, Cahill said, Cahill said, I'm not going to respond in the field anymore, and laid it off on the coroner's office. And I want you to know, I like Cahill. We got along well. I don't know if you know he's passed away.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
no.
yes.
Oh, my God. When did that happen?
I want to say 6 to 8 months ago, maybe a little bit more. Remember, you're supposed to add a couple of years. That's right. So it's been a while. But I want you to know.
Why? Well, was that in the paper?
I'm fairly confident it was, because this office got a lot of attention as a result of the murder. So, but it comes down to, why do I want to do it? I want to get in. I want to fix the things that need to be fixed. I want to get it on the right, what I consider to be on the right track. And I think I have the skill. Again, I always say I think, and I want to retrain myself to say I have the skill and the talent, and I know talented people, and I know how to run organizations. That's what I do. And so I have the ability to do that. I want to come in, get it all tuned up, get it where it needs to be. I was working on that when I was there. And then, of course, all that happened. And I want to go back and finish. I kind of remind myself, did you ever see The Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
You notice how Sheldon Cooper always knocks 3 times and he has to finish something what he starts? I want to go back and finish what I started.
Yeah,
Would you start with an audit?
To do that. Yes. One of the
So
first things I'd want to do is an
And
audit.
see where there's waste or where you could improve. And
Oh,
make it
absolutely.
more efficient.
Now, I want you
save
to know
money.
the county, I think, is just completing one, but I want an internal audit by the county, but I also want an audit on the property, on the vault, on
Yeah.
So everything's, and by the way, that's not making any accusations. What I'm saying is, if you don't know what you got, how do you know where you're going?
Right.
You know, there's this whole thing about
because you're responsible.
if you don't, yeah, absolutely. And if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. That's what I think's weird about people trying to erase history. Whether it's good history or bad history, we have to know our history. We have to know where we're going. We have to know what we want to do next. And that helps us set our plan for the future. And so I think you have to do all those things. And then I think you have to move forward very carefully. Right now, even some of the records management system stuff is just being updated and just being brought together. And I know I have the ability to hold people accountable and let them do their job. I'm not going to do all the work. I'm going to manage the people that do the work.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to cut you off.
I'm fine. Are we going to commercial?
No,
Oh.
we're done. But I promise you this will the live feed
Mhm.
will make up with the other feed.
I'm fine.
And get that out.
And I'll always come back.
But I would like for you, Mark is going to zoom in on you, tell people why you're running, why they should vote for you, if you have any events coming up, and your point of contact where you want them to.
Absolutely.
Find you.
So are we getting ready to go? Because I got to look at this. You can always reach out to me at murphy4clarkcounty.com. You can also reach me at the phone number 702-248-9401. We will get right back to you as soon as we can. I want you to know that the reason I'm running is I'd like to go back and finish the job that I started. I want you to know that this is a job that very little is known about, that is extremely important. The citizens of our community deserve to be treated well and with respect, not only while they're alive, but after they've died. And we want to protect that property, make sure that this office is run with integrity and with good leadership that watches out for the taxpayer dollars and partners with our private community, our private partners, so that we can get the job done efficiently, effectively, and appropriately. That's my reason.
Well, thank you, Mr. Murphy, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Folks, that's Michael Murphy, candidate for Clark County Public Administrator. And we would like to apologize for the audio on the live, but we'll get that YouTube version up and running so you guys could see this whole interview full with all audio and video. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back. This is Steve Sanchez, Stephanie Phillips for Veterans in Politics.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.